This is MMA World Nation. And welcome to our channel. MMA, also known as mixed martial art, is one of the fastest growing sports that consists of everything from kicking to punching and even grappling techniques, both stand-up and on the ground. As the name suggests, this type of sport is a blend of boxing, karate, jiu-jitsu, wrestling and judo, indeed a very interesting sport. However, as violent this sport can get, there are still some rules and regulations to be followed for the participants' security and safety. If you are a beginner or just interested in the basics of this highly popular sport everyone has been talking about lately, then this is the perfect video for you. This is MMA World Nation, and today we are going to share top 10 most significant rules of MMA. Stay tuned till number 1 to make sure you're a pro at the basics of MMA. Number 10. Say no to groin kicks. Read the title again. Obviously it should be the first and most basic rule about MMA, a sport that allows you to go crazy. This very part of the body is considered to be very delicate, emphasis on very, and therefore a rule has been made to respect safety of the individuals, be it a man or a woman. Acts such as striking, grabbing, pinching or twisting are illegal in the sport, and one thing should be made pretty clear, that groin attacks are the same for men and women. We know it is very tempting to just drain all the energy out of the opponent by one simple attack, but hey, it could happen to you too, and getting all that energy back would take some time, so might as well stay away from it. It is very important that they wear protection cups in case if the opponent accidentally hits the point, which is not considered an illegal move and could cost the guilty player a point. Number 9. Striking down with the point of the elbow. The use of a linear, straight-up straight-down elbow strike is strictly prohibited in the game, where even the slightest variation of this straight-up and down linear elbow strike makes the strike legal. However, any arc, or change of some angle from straight-up to straight-down makes the strike legal. Even though this rule was pretty controversial at first, as some members of the community did not agree with completely outlawing this one, but soon it became a rule, and a very significant one. An elbow strike can damage the body pretty hard, such as cutting the opponent and in some cases causing an eye injury too. The judges are pretty strict with this one rule because back at the Ultimate Fighter 10 finale, Jon Jones was found guilty and therefore disqualified for delivering repetitive downward elbow strikes to Matt Hamill's head. An easy way to knock out your opponent, but this strike on the opponent from a 12 o'clock position to a 6 o'clock position with their elbow is totally forbidden. Number 8. Spine or back of the head are out of question too. Considering the magnitude of pain this sport can cause, it is a very sensible thing to do, making all the delicate parts of the body that can cause a lifetime damage illegal to strike. Our spine literally holds us up and gives the basic support we need to do physical activities. While the back of the head consists of very delicate yet crucial part of the brain, medulla, that is responsible for all the involuntary actions. Wouldn't want either one of them damaged because that can cost a lifetime of pain, paralyze your body. Since fighters cannot control when their opponent turns their heads, referees usually allow fighters some discretion when it comes to attacks to the back of their heads. Unless a participant is chucked or seriously injured from a hit to the back of the head, referees will often give at least one warning to the guilty fighter before deducting a point. Number 7. It's not counted if you kick the ground opponent's head. Another very highly questioned and controversial rule of MMA that the community is not really fond of is kicking or kneeing the head of a ground opponent. A ground opponent is the one on the floor lying defenseless like a weak bird, grounded, both hands palm, fist down, and or any other body part must be touching the fighting area floor. Back in the days it was considered to be a special way of ending a fight where the winner would kick the head of the losing opponent. Well, it was more like a state of war where the winner would almost stomp over the defeated person's head. The word grounded applies also to a combatant with 3 touch points on the ground. When a participant stands on each of his feet and places one or both hands on his canvas, he cannot knee or knock his opponent on his back. This method of avoiding punishment has become a point of argument against the rule. Number 6. Control the urge to give the opponent a head slam. We often see players in video games give their opponents a beautiful head slam and knock them out. The adrenaline rush is legendary, but the consequences are grave when it comes to real life, and it is important to understand that. This is no video game, and such an act can lead to spinal injury, hence paralyzing the opponent. The penalties for rocketing an opponent on their head or neck are pretty similar to those used in illegal movements previously mentioned. In that scenario, the guilty attacker will hardly ever be warned. Instead, fighting would be stopped immediately, and the fighter punished. Number 5. Don't ignore the bell. Listen you all, this game demands the use of your senses and the ability to not ignore what you see, smell, feel and hear. Please focus on the last one, hear the bell. The fighters are pretty much pumped up and ready to beat the life out of their opponents, but it is very important to stay sane and not go wild at the same time. When you hear the bell, it means stop, and by the term stop they mean no movement, no more kicking, no more last-minute beating or any kind of moves to get yourself some points or maybe get that anger out for the last hit you got from them. No, none of these are allowed after you hear the bell. Common sense should tell a fighter that they shouldn't strike the other fighter after the end of a round. One such example is when Paul Daly disregarded that rule at UFC 113, when he couldn't hold onto his urge to hit Josh Koscheck despite having 15 full minutes of legal time to do so. Not cool, guys. These actions can have grave consequences like getting disqualified. Number 4. Keep your claws to yourself. We mean it, guys. This is a very important rule that must not be broken. Cutting your nails is something you can't get away from before the fight even starts, but during a fight having your fingers outstretched toward an opponent's face, eyes is considered a foul, and in order to avoid that, a fighter is not allowed to advance toward their opponent with an open hand, fingers pointing at them. This is to avoid anything such as eye gouging, clawing, pinching, fish hooking, twisting the flesh or using fingers into an open wound trying to enlarge the cut and further damage the wound. A fighter is definitely not allowed to put his fingers into his opponent's nose, ears, mouth, or any body cavity at all. All of these are not allowed, so you better advance towards your opponent with your hands in the form of a punch. In some cases, if the act was somehow unintentional, then the fighter may not be disqualified. Number 3. Stop hiding. One thing that you should be very clear about is you must understand and acknowledge what you're getting yourself into by taking part in the sport. This is all about standing up for yourself and fighting for victory, not hiding from the opponent until time's up. Avoiding the opponent is very commonly seen in the ring. One of MMA's most important concerns at the moment is fighters who keep running to delay the fight. Apart from standing up competitors, referees do nothing to enforce the rule. This rule must be expanded and reinforced with more strict policies to ensure implementation. Number 2. No hands on the ropes. This is a very important and basic rule of MMA, no hands on the rope fence. It is perfectly fine for the fighter to place his hands or feet on the cage and push off at any time, but intertwining their fingers and holding the fence to get some support is not allowed at all. As much as you want to do that, if you get caught in action, the referee would not stop himself from calling you out. According to the rules, when the fighter is caught holding the fence, cage or cable, the referee shall subtract 1 point from the scorecard of the fighter for violating the rules if a foul has caused a significant effect on the fight. If a fighter takes the cage and because of the violation, the fouling fighter ends up in a favorable position due to the foul, the fighter will be restarted by the referee after deciding if a point deduction is necessary. But it's better to be on the safe side and keep your hands off the ring, fence, cage. Number 1. Headbutting? No, no, no. This act is a big fat no. Was never allowed and will never be in the future. Extremely rare at this time in the evolution of MMA, intentional headbutts are illegal. Keep your super strong iron hard skull to yourself, because that can cost you a point, and in a 3-round match you would never want to lose a point. In case of an unintentional headbutt, the referee has the liberty to decide whether or he would deduct a point from the guilty fighter's scoreboard. In case of serious injury or any injury caused by this action, the guilty fighter will be disqualified. Yeah, read that line again and keep it in your head. These were the top 10 most significant rules of MMA, and we hope you enjoyed going through the rule book, because now you are good to practice. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and stay tuned for MMA World Nation's next videos.